Hey everybody, Zach and I are going to talk about posing characters in Shot Generator today.
So I'm actually really bad at this. I think I would be bad at this even if I knew how to do it, but I'm looking forward to seeing how you've set it up so that you can pose characters.
Sure. Yeah, I guess first, it's super important to know that posing characters lends a huge amount of expression in your storyboards. So if you ever look at, kind of previs storyboards that are poorly done, they're usually like very rigid, and people have just done the most basic posing. Um, Super expressive posing, posturing, the lean and the off balance is like really important to explaining what's going on in the frame, and it's the thing that human beings pick up immediately. So I guess, well, unless you have any questions, let's just
Well,
go right
it's
in.
also isn't it? It's also like one of the hardest things to learn if you were going to actually storyboard by hand. Doing convincing poses is like a lifetime of work to learn how to do in many ways.
Yeah, certainly if you're drawing, if you're drawing and you're like a master draftsman, they make posing look absolutely easy. But in reality, you may draw something and then realize that you want to change the posing up. So defining the curvature of the spine to give somebody like a really solid pose is something that people gain with experience. But with this, you can kind of just let me just show it to you. So so today Zach and I are going to we're going to go into VR. But a lot of this stuff you can do on the desktop app as well. It's just a lot easier to do in VR. So we'll show it to you like that.
Well, and
Okay.
one of the things you can only do in VR. So, which is
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true. So yeah, we'll show you that. Okay. So let's see. So the first thing I'm going to do is open up Storyboarder, open up a blank scene in Shot Generator here, and then I'm going to click Open in VR. So Zach, the link is stbr.link/25rw9. 25rw9 and enter. Okay, adding a character. Okay. All right, so there's 4 ways to pose a character. The first is pose presets. The second is pose capture. Third is IK, and the last one is manipulating specific bones. So the first one, I have this character here. I can select the character by hitting the side grip, and then I click on this arrow, and I'll get the advanced parameters on the character. So here you can see I'm on the pose preset panel, and I can change all the poses by clicking on them. So here's that pose. Here's like holding a shotgun, holding a pistol. Here is, I don't know, like lording over something. Here's a cool,
yeah.
here's a cool pose of just like character falling over. Um, here's here's a pose of. Oh wait, did it? Click on that first. There's a pose of them standing up like that. And there's a ton of these poses in here you can kind of scroll through. That's one way. But if you're in VR, you might as well like pose the character exactly how you want. And so in specific to only VR, there's a feature called pose capture. So if you select a character and then click pose capture, you'll see yourself in a mirror, and you can kind of move your arms around, and it basically counts down 5, 4, 3, 2, and then it captures the pose that you have. So you can do all sorts of kind of complicated. Well, the only thing that it measures is the position and rotation of your head and your hands. So I can go like, hey, stop. Or I can do, you
But it
know.
kind of gets where your back and neck are at the same time.
Yeah, so you can kind of see like the kind of stuff I pose with it. I can go like, or even have my hands down at my side, or you know, do anything. Now, one of the really great things about this is, let me show you this. So it's really hard to make sure that characters are looking at each other. So I'm gonna duplicate this character, and I'm gonna put him over here. Now I want these characters to like be looking at each other. Like let's say I have this character facing this way and this character facing this way, but I want them to look at each other. So I'm gonna click on this character, I'm gonna do pose capture, and I'm gonna make sure that I'm looking at this character.
Oh, you can actually see through their eyes?
Yeah, that's basically how I'm seeing. And then through this character, I'm gonna do pose capture, and I'm gonna look at this character and I'm gonna, you know what I mean? So.
Oh yeah, and you can almost like, and I mean that might help you get into the right mode too, because if you're angry at that character, you're looking at them, you know, you might get a better pose than if you were just trying to make a pose.
Yeah, totally. So, you know, you can, like, it's really hard to get characters to look at each other. You know, you can do it in real life perfectly. I can look at you. But to assume the character and use pose capture is really nice. Just real quickly, like, the next phase is to use these IK control points. Each one of these balls, if they're connected to the legs and the hands and the head, they are the control endpoints. And then if they're not connected, they are the pull targets. So like these up here could control the angle of the elbow. So you can see as I move the elbow here, it'll affect the angle of the elbow. If I move this knee up, you can kind of see that the knee is affected by the pull target of the knee pull target. And I can do really cool stuff like make a character sit in a chair really quickly and then put their hands down over here. If I want their knees together, I can just grab the pull targets and move their knees together. And that's pretty cool, pretty easy. And then I guess I'll just use this character over here. The last way to pose a character is to select a character, roll over the bone, and then hold down the side grip and rotate the controller while you're holding down the side grip. And the result is that you transfer that rotation onto the bone. It's a little hard to get used to, it's a little hard to understand immediately, but once you get used to it, it's super fast and easy to start posing a character. So I guess those are the sort of technical aspects. And now I kind of want to explain. Let me just delete these characters real quick, just so we have a blank slate. I'm going to add a new character. And one of the things I wanted to explain is that characters, the origin point of the character, bone-wise, are the hips. So when I grab the hips, they sort of are like the root of where the character is, and then they extend through to the legs, and then extend up through the spine, out the clavicle and the arms, and then also from the top spine point to the head. So when you're posing a character, especially when you're posing just by bones, because that's the most granular way of controlling a character, you want to sort of start from the inside and go out. So like if you're going to make this character sit in a chair, you want to make sure that their hips are aligned, sort of like that. You want to bring and roll the spine up second. Then you want to take the legs and rotate the legs out, drop the lower legs down, maybe you drop the feet here. Then you want to relax the clavicle. Maybe you want to have this clavicle up onto the back of the chair, and then have him kind of sort of go like that, and then maybe have his hand on top of his thigh here. And then maybe he's gonna like lie. He's gonna have his head kind of like tilted back like that. And there's like a pretty fast and easy pose to make a chair. Like, well, I guess I don't have a chair here, but if I did have a chair, I'll make one real. Well, I guess I use a more open-ended back chair. Yeah, the couch is more shallow though. I was thinking he would be like kind of like this. Oops.
So no, that's super helpful. So you start with the hips and then you kind of go out from there.
Yeah, that's the way I do it. Like usually the first thing I do is mess with the IK control points. So let me just do this one more time, but just with the IK.
Did you say what IK stands for?
IK stands for inverse kinematics. So it sort of comes from robotics. But if you think about it, like if you're standing in front of like a can of soda or something like that, you are going to reach out to grab that can. And you do not think that you have to rotate your upper arm and your lower arm and all your fingers to grab that can. Your mind just goes, oh, that's where the can is, and I'm going to grab out and do it. Similarly, I can just grab this control point and move it wherever I want. And given the rules of the way the bones should work, the system kind of solves for that. So I can make this character do all sorts of really interesting things just by controlling these control points, and all of the bones in between will solve for themselves, if that makes sense.
Yeah, cool. And so can you create a character really quick and just show what each of the IK control points does?
Sure. So yeah, this is the right, the right hand, or I guess the left hand. This is the right hand. This is the control point for the elbow. This is the control point for the other elbow. This is the control point for the head, and I can move that around. This is the control point for the hips, and I can rotate that, and I can move it forward and back. I can also lift up the legs, and then change the knee pull targets as well. So if I was, let me just create a new character here. If I was going to make this character sit in this chair really quick, I'd put him sort of rotated so that he sort of, he looks like he's about to sit in the chair. The next thing I do is I get up close to him. Getting close to the character is the easiest way to pose them. You get up close and you kind of just grab his butt, his hips there, and you rotate him. And some characters sit like this. Some people sit with their arched back. That's probably the good posture way to do it. Me, with my horrible posture, I sort of roll into the chair. So then I sort of roll the hips back. I make sure that the head is in the right position, and then I kind of put the hands where I want them. So if I was going to do a similar pose to last time, I'm going to put this left hand on his thigh, and I'm going to put the hand maybe over here, bring the pull target for the elbow up, bring this pull target out a little bit, maybe spread the knees a little bit, and then I pretty much have like a pretty good pose immediately. Now, you can notice also at the same time that this is a little crappy because no character puts their clavicle down and then their arms straight up. Clavicles are one of the most underutilized bone in 3D, but also just in draftsmanship. You really want to make sure that you roll these clavicles in the direction of where you're trying to sort of form the arm. So maybe in this case, I might actually want to put the arm behind the chair, and then sort of do like that, and then drop this clavicle down, this is a much more natural pose. Well, it's only not natural because there's no curve in the spine here. There we go. That's like much more natural, and I might do like
Now,
that.
tell me if this is wrong. As a rule of thumb, the control points are things that you can kind of pull and push in space, whereas the bones, you have to physically move and turn them with your hands.
Yeah, you're actually not even moving bones ever. You're only rotating them, and then that sort of translates out. So like, let's say if I want to mess with these clavicles, I have to make sure that I'm like basically, I'm gonna rotate this clavicle. It's gonna rotate the whole arm, and I want to make sure that I get my clavicle right, the upper arm, and then the lower arm exactly the way I want. And that's sort of like how it's gonna play. The other thing I wanted to explain, I'll add another character here, is posture. So this posture is fairly good posture. You can have, actually, let me duplicate this character, and I'm gonna do like a side by side. And in this, I'm gonna move these guys over here so you don't see them. Okay, so the first one I'm going to do like a proud posture, which is, a little bit. I grab the hips and I basically put the butt out a little bit. I'm sort of leaning up, and I have my neck back and my head like that. Then I'm also taking these clavicles and I'm putting them out, and this is a sort of comical, proud posture. It's not normal, like nobody would normally sort of stand like that. And you could even make it more extreme if you wanted to, by like, like rotating like this, and maybe I want to pull these arms down or make them a little bit more natural. But this is not how, this is like sort of comical, proud posture. But let's look at the way most people actually stand, which is basically curled over. So you basically have, you stand a little bit back. You have if you're putting your center of gravity a little bit back, and then you kind of roll the spine a little bit. A lot of people have forward head posture at this point because they're on a computer. Now that's just the spine. So if you look at the curvature of the spine, supporting the center of gravity on the back on the back leg here, and then curving the spine over, neck forward and head up to maintain their sight there. But this is the really important thing, is those clavicles. You bring the clavicles in, so it's like more of a shallow kind of posture. This is a little, this is actually pretty, pretty consistent, or pretty normal the way that it is. But here is a sort of hunched over forward head posture, which is actually how most people walk and look, at least today. You can maybe even make this a little bit more pronounced on the back. There we go. And so, and that's as opposed to the sort of neutral posture. And most of the time when you look at video games, in video games, the video games always have perfect posture. But in reality, there's so much character. You can see three different types of people here. They both each have their own fundamental character, but also they might be saying something. So, obviously this person looks, the first person looks a little bit more like they're surprised. This person just looks pretty neutral, and this person looks like they're somewhat defeated. And that can translate all the way through to sitting. So I can still make this guy sit you know, and if I really roll him, let's see, what do I want to do? I want to kind of like go like this. But I can have a guy sit like this. I can have somebody sit more straight up, and then I can have somebody sit really proud over here. And you can kind of see the difference between the three, even the three sitting postures have a different set of character. So that's another thing. The other thing is center of gravity. So I'm just going to delete these guys real quick. And most of the time people want to make, especially in the context of boards, a pose that is natural and at rest. This is a good example of a pose that is natural and at rest. This person looks like they are standing. But once we change this character so that their center of gravity is off, now this character looks comical, like they were just, they're planking in midair. But let's say we do something that looks more like this. So I'm going to grab that. And humans usually keep, if they're in control of their body, usually keep their head upright, but not necessarily. And here we have like kind of a cool action pose. You know, maybe he's like leaning against the wall. And this is the kind of dynamic posing that is really great, that when you see it, you're like, you immediately know that there's some sort of action. And it's even more kind of dramatic when you can absolutely tell that the character is completely out of balance. And that's usually pretty fantastic in terms of like an action pose. So, you know, yeah, I mean, that's a pretty significant, important concept in posing.
And I guess the idea here is, you know, obviously we're not directing the actor of how to fall, but we're trying to get the story across, so we don't need to focus on, you know, every phase of the fall. It's more about just having that board for that couple of seconds up show that the character's falling. And
yeah, totally.
convey that feeling.
So like usually a close camera at a wide angle out of balance is a very dramatic shot. You know, like if you can see the position from this camera, and if you do stuff like, you know, put something, yeah, basically, yeah, like the objective is to get the idea across. But usually posing is, they just put characters in the shot and that's it. But like a well done pose as well as a facial expression is absolutely key to explaining what's going on in that shot. And yeah, that's sort of the general idea. Do you want to try to pose some characters?
Yes, please. Yes.
Sure. So why don't I delete these characters and
Yeah. So all right, I'm gonna create my character. Sometimes when I create the character, yeah, I just don't see him for a second, but that's okay. That just means he's gonna show up in front of me in a moment, right? So
yeah, he's loading. Yeah.
Cool. All right, so I'm looking at this character, and I'm gonna use the side grip to select the character.
Well, I'd say if you want to get him in the chair, the first thing you want to do is move him in front of the chair like he's about to sit down. So put his legs square to the chair.
Got it. Okay. Kind of like that.
Yeah. You could even bring him closer to the chair since very few people have their legs that far out from the chair.
Okay, so you're saying I did a very bad job. Okay, here we
No,
go.
no. Yeah, but
Okay, here we are. Okay. Right here. Okay. This guy's almost ready to sit down. Okay, so in terms of my control points, I'm going to get up close to him, like you said. Now, I have his waist here. That's a control point at the waist that I could bring right down to chair level, to seat level, right?
yeah, just do it.
Okay. And I could do that by like throwing it there or just by setting it down. That's cool. Okay. That's not a bad start. That's actually the best start I've ever had. So, okay. Now, I can put the hands kind of in the lap here. Like that. Oops. And if I want to quickly undo something that I did, I'm just always going to hit my...
On your right controller, on one of the buttons, the bottom one will undo it.
Okay, great. So, like knowing whether I'm actually aiming at a control point or a bone, the bone will highlight.
The bone will highlight. You can only really mess with the bone with the side grip, and you can only mess with the end point with the trigger. So.
Okay, cool. That's good to know. Side grip for bones, trigger for the control points. But obviously you can also grab the whole character and move them around with the trigger.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've got a person sitting in a chair. Now, if I want to... You were talking about clavicles.
What? Yeah, so a couple things. Yeah, I mean, I guess in this case, I would select the clavicles. But here's the thing you should know is if you mess with any of the bone rotations and then you touch the control endpoint, it will completely reset your bone rotations. So
that is good to know.
So the IK is always takes master over everything, and it's can be super annoying sometimes if that's the case. So you really kind of want to have a pretty good idea of what you want your pose to look like and kind of optimize for doing that first. And so my order is usually first pose capture, second IK, and then third rotate the bones. I almost never use the presets because I'm always gonna kind of roughly know what I want to do.
Got it. Okay. So if I'm... And I don't know what I want to do, so I should know what I want to do. I can also just, from this position right now, if I want to select this person, I can just go into pose capture and then just be like...
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, that's super helpful to be able to quickly do that.
Here, let me do this real quick. So let me put a table in front of him. Oh, that's a small table. Let me put a bigger table. Okay, so you could pose capture this guy and put your hands on the table and lean forward if you want to.
Yeah, let me try that because it's the whole looking. I'm gonna make another character for them to look at too. Yeah.
Sure.
Because that whole concept is really cool to me. Okay, I created a character, but I'm waiting a second. There's the character. Okay, good. And then, okay, so this character is standing across the table. I'm going to select this character. I'm going to go into pose capture. And now I'm looking at that character. And I'm angry. Okay, let me try that again. Now, there was something in front of me when I went to look at the character.
Yes, so that is the annoying thing. That's a mirror that shows you yourself. It's sort of annoying because if you're looking at a character, it may be in front of that character.
Fair enough. Okay.
You just, yeah, we have to figure that part out, like what we do with that. But
No, all good. I'm going to try it again, and I'm going to notice the table a little more. The 5 seconds wasn't quite enough for me to get my bearings the first time. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So...
And then you could go and you could be standing for this guy and also have you, like for the character that's right there, you can move that character close to the table and then have him standing but leaning on the table, like kind of getting in the other guy's face.
Right.
So in that situation, you grabbed his pelvis and moved him forward.
I saw myself do it, and then I just went to undo it.
Yeah.
And it took 2 undos to do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That'll happen sometimes.
Okay. So put the character here, and then hold on.
You might not be close enough to. Oh yeah.
And then I'm gonna pose capture, and I'm sitting down, so we'll see how this works. But now I'm gonna put my hands down on the table, and I'm gonna oh.
So you weren't.
There was a table in my way.
Yeah, there was an actual real life table.
Yeah, that was my actual desk. Yeah.
But what's cool is that now you have the basic pose. You can actually just grab his hands and then put him down on the table. They're.
Yeah, that is really cool. No, this is great. It's really simple. I think, the idea of start with your IK points, or with pose capture, start with pose capture, and then your IK points, then go in and do your bones, and realize that bones are with the side grip. Everything else is with the trigger, and that once you're in doing bones, if you then grab an IK point, it's going to reset those bones, and so you're going to have to go back in and do it again.
Yeah, totally. And so I'm gonna control this character real quick. So if I were to do this, I would go in and extend the clavicles more forward. Oops, let me get to this side. So extend the clavicles more forward. In order to be more business, I might maximize my horizontal space by putting the elbows out a little bit, and then I'll probably drop the elbows. Okay, those are the knees. I'll drop the elbows a little bit. And so that's that guy. And then for this, I might roll his back spine a little bit. So and forward.
For some reason, the 2 IK points behind the character are really confusing to me.
Yeah, when you rotate a character around, there's not an easy way to consistently be moving. Actually, now that I look at this character, I kind of want him to be more I want this to be forward, and I want him to I don't know. Maybe that's too much, too cartoony. It's a little rolled too much, but the other thing is like no one would kind of like if they're in an action stance, they'd never really have their feet together. So in reality, his feet would probably be like supporting his weight. So he'd probably be more down like this, and arms.
But can you rotate the? You can rotate the IK points as well.
Yeah. In fact, that's really important. You can see when I grab the butt here, I can rotate it this way, and have more of the weight on the front leg, or I can rotate it this way and have more of the weight on the back leg. And they have two totally separate sort of feels to them, and also it's really important for the hands too. You can rotate the IK. So like, let's say if I have a gun in hand, you want it like that. If I want to say stop, I would go like that. If I want to like be more, welcoming or like trying to expressive, I might go like that. So, there's like a lot of different ways you might pose the rotation of the endpoints for the IK. And then let's say this guy, he's more like defensive, and he's like, he might be actually like kind of leaning back. And he might actually be rolling his hands back like that, So you can kind of.
Let me try a pose capture real quick on him.
Sure. Yeah.
It's a little hard to do the crossed arms, but
yeah, there's no way that the pose capture can know the position of the elbows. So you can kind of click on the character to modify the elbows too, to kind of make them more realistic. Most of the time, the elbows are more outward on a crossed arm, so the pull target should be more in front of the body because you can't put your arms through
then I
the
can
body.
I can make the hands into fists, right? And I can.
Yeah, well, actually, that's what I wanted to talk to in the in a future video. It was more like advanced pose techniques. But I think as far as like the basic mechanics of posing, we got down. So let's just cut the video here.
Okay, but there was one thing that you didn't answer, which
What's
is
that?
these two. There's these 2 points that are the 2 IK points that are always confusing to me. Are these ones that are out behind them, kind of flanking them out to the
Yeah,
left?
those are the pull targets for the legs. Or sorry, in this case, these are the elbows, and then the ones in front are for the knees. Does that make sense to you?
It does. I guess it's just not that intuitive to me that these things are controlling the elbows.
Yeah, you just have to get used to it. Like we've gone through a lot of like trying to make it, like draw a line from the elbow to the elbow control point. Too visually complicated. It's just one of those things. Once you get it, you're like, got it.
No, I understand. I guess I'm just wondering why they're not close to the elbows. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they shouldn't be because you're pulling that out extreme, so that when you move the hand around, it's always going to try to solve to get the elbow in that position.
Okay, understood.
So no, you can have pull targets that are way far away from the elbow, as they should be, honestly. Like in this case, your pull targets are like super weird because they're all the way down here, and they should be up here, and your hand should be like that. So it's like that's the way a crossed arm normally looks. It's a little bit more out.
Got it.
But yeah, all this stuff just takes experience, practicing, playing with it, you know, looking at real photos and saying, oh, well, like, oh, I didn't notice that this is how people actually, look when they're running or walking or things like that. So, you know, that stuff, that stuff you're going to get from looking at real imagery. And so that's what I think we should do in the next video is take some existing photographs of good poses, bring them in here and be like, let's create these poses. Got it?
Awesome.
Okay, let's do that. I will talk to you guys later and see you in the next video.
Thanks, Charles.
Yeah, bye.